Newcastle is easily one of the best characters to play in Apex Legends, and this ultimate guide is going to have you terrorizing squads in no time. This legend is viable at all levels of play. He can be useful to your squad in low rank lobbies, predator lobbies, and is even commonly used in the competitive Apex scene. That is exactly how good Newcastle is, and with that being said, let's hop right into teaching you guys everything you need to know to master Newcastle with this ultimate guide. Newcastle's kit truly sets him apart from the other defensive legends, and in Apex where movement and positioning are vital to your success, defensive legends commonly play the anchor role, meaning they back up the team. They are the last into the fight, and the anchor uses their abilities to assist with pushes or to try and stabilize the squad from an incoming offensive attack from the enemy. Newcastle is the best in the game at supporting his team as a defensive legend because he can provide the most utility, whether that's being defensive and holding a point or being very aggressive and using mobility for flanks and pushes. So first off, let's quickly cover the details regarding Newcastle's abilities, and then I'll break down into specific tips for each ability. I will also include timestamps so you can quickly go from point to point to find the specific help you need to master Newcastle. First up, Newcastle is a tank and receives the Fortify passive. Just like Gibraltar and Caustic, he takes reduced damage by 15%, and he is not slowed by bullets. Newcastle's tactical ability, Mobile Shield, he throws out an energy shield that can be directed and moved to protect you or your allies as you heal or flank. The Mobile Shield is on a 15-second cooldown, and the shield lasts for 20 seconds. The shield will begin to hum when the 20 seconds is almost up, so be mindful when you hear the shield is about to disappear. The two separate sections of the shield can be destroyed, and both the top and lower section have 500 health, which was increased from 350 in Season 14. Players can pass through the energy shield like a dome, but cannot shoot through, and I basically treat this ability as a mini Gibraltar bubble, so take all of your experience from fighting in the Gibby bubble and try and incorporate with you in your play with Newcastle. Newcastle's ultimate ability is the Castle Wall. With this ability, Newcastle can target a location to jump towards, or he can pick a teammate and then jump through the air and slam down with a fortified barrier at that targeted location. When Newcastle leaps to a location, it can be 35 meters away. However, with a squad mate or a teammate's death box, his ultimate range is extended to 75 meters. This is actually massive. The ultimate ability is what truly separates Newcastle from any of the other defensive legends because he has an escape ability and massive mobility to help the squad to fortify a location or even to gain high ground or angles over enemies. When you use the castle wall and enemies are near its landing location, they will be knocked back. You will have a maximum of one wall at a time during the match, and the wall has 9 different sections, all with 750 health. Newcastle himself can take down specific segments of the wall by pressing H or down on the D-pad, and each part of the wall can be quickly destroyed by 2 melee attacks. The outer section of the wall is electrified for 30 seconds upon landing, similar to a Watson fence, which will slow and stun enemies with 20 damage who attempt to make contact with your wall. And if Newcastle uses the ultimate but for some reason doesn't land and create that actual wall, he's also refunded 70% of his ultimate cooldown. A friendly Newcastle wall will glow blue, and an enemy Newcastle wall will glow red. Now last up, in terms of abilities, Newcastle's passive is Retrieve the Wounded, where Newcastle deploys his knockdown shield and he's able to drag his down teammates around while reviving them. The health of the revive shield is dependent on the level of Newcastle's knockdown shield. So level 1, the knockdown shield will have 200 HP, level 2, 300, level 3 and 4, 500. But also just keep in mind, if your knockdown shield gets broken when you're trying to revive, that you're gonna be without that shield for a bit if you try to quickly revive again. With the changes of the knockdown shields for Season 14, that gold knockdown, Newcastle's revive is even more clutch and important because Newcastle should always be given the gold knockdown knockdown to have the most protection versus damage, and the gold knockdown will give his teammates extra health on each revive once they get up. So now let's break down specific tips and tricks on how to utilize and master each ability, and we're going to start out with his tactical ability. Now, like I mentioned earlier, one major tip when utilizing Newcastle's mobility shield is playing around it correctly and utilizing weapons that complement your abilities. A Peacekeeper is Newcastle's best friend, or other poke weapons like the Wingman or G7 Scout. These weapons allow you to play around actually both your ultimate wall and your mobile shield very effectively, as you're able to take a quick shot and then immediately get back to your cover. Also, just keep in mind, if you do notice an enemy is using your cover, you can always move it away and direct it to a different direction so they can't even use it. Now, another key tip regarding Newcastle's mobile shield has to do with grenades. Newcastle's able to pull off some crazy niche grenade plays with arc stars with his shield. You can attach an arc star to the mobile shield on the front and then proceed to move the shield into a room. Or even better, if someone is holding a location indoors, the shield can pass through objects such as walls and fences. So try sticking an arc star to the shield and then pass it into the room for free entry damage. Another trick you can do with grenades with his shield is tossing an arc star at your feet with the wall directly in front of you, and then you can back up the mobile shield closer to you and back it up so that you won't take any damage, and then the enemies in front of you, they'll be stunned for easy kills since your wall is protecting you and not protecting them from that arc star. Also, don't forget to use your mobile shield when you need to block a grenade so you can totally nullify out that damage. Moving on, it's a pretty common tactic in Apex to block doors when you're trying to get off a healing item. Commonly, enemies can kick down your doors in 2 kicks to get in as soon as possible. Now, you can try throwing down your mobile shield, and if you're able to position it correctly, the enemy will not be able to kick down your door because your shield will be blocking the door. That way you'll have just enough time to get off a healing item and get back into the fight. A lot of other players also don't realize that you can direct your moving shield while you're performing a revive with Newcastle. So try throwing out your mobile shield to guard your front while you're reviving, and you can back up and continue to have your mobile shield back up while you're performing that revive. You can direct it just like you can when you're standing up in first person, as you can when you're in third person and you're reviving a teammate. Also, if you did not use your mobile shield for the initial revive of your teammate, then be sure to throw down your mobile shield for your teammate to provide them with more cover from additional angles so they can get their heals off and get back into the fight. Another useful tip that I don't see many Newcastles doing is the retreat shield tactic. If you need to turn your back to an enemy and run away, then throw down your shield in front of the enemy, then you yourself turn 180 degrees and run as you direct your shield to cover you from behind. Now, obviously, you're going to want to use your shield for you and your teammates to push and continue to move your shield towards an enemy position after you've heavily damaged those enemies. This will allow you to cross open terrain with safety to close in for kills. You can also use your mobile shield to cover you and your teammates to protect you when you need to desperately loot out in the open, and the mobile shield can also cover your 6 or your back while you cover your front with your passive regeneration shield as you're getting a revive off, and then the mobile shield is also tall enough for Valk to successfully ult as well. If you do want to turn the shield around completely, walk to the outside part of the shield and ping the area 180 degrees behind the shield to get the shield to immediately turn around and face the opposite direction. Moving on, let's cover tips regarding Newcastle's ultimate, the castle wall. The jump is arguably more important than the shield it puts down, and use this ability to reposition, escape an impossible gunfight, or gain access to hard to reach places. You can even use this mobility to grab banners and then quickly jump away for safety. So when utilizing the castle wall, you're able to turn mid-leap, so you can direct the wall to deflect incoming fire. A lot of the times you're going to want to jump towards your teammate and then turn around 180 degrees to block approaching enemies. If you and your team need to bunker down for heals, remember that the ultimate wall can be placed down without a leap, and it can be used to block doors and entrances. This can give your team approximately 30 seconds or more to heal and plan an attack. Just keep in mind that after 30 seconds, your electric shocking system on that wall, it will turn off, and the enemies can punch down your wall twice to break that section immediately. Just most players right now don't know that you can punch a section of the wall twice to knock that part down. If for some reason you jump with your ultimate and there are obstacles in your way, those parts will not be constructed, so be careful where you land to get maximum protection with your walls. When ulting to a location, if your weapon is holstered, then Newcastle will not have his weapon out when he lands, so make sure you typically have your weapon ready when you're ulting so you can fight as soon as you land. Moving into some really cool tips, we have a lot of things to go over with the passive that a lot of players haven't really thought about, but when you're using his passive ability, if the fight is complete, a lot of times you want to carry your teammate while you're reviving them to the death boxes nearby so your teammate can get a quick armor swap so they're healthy for any third parties. Now, like I mentioned earlier, make sure you're moving your mobile shield while you're reviving as well. Another point that took me a bit to realize is you do not need to hold down the revive key or button while you're reviving with Newcastle, so this allows you to keep your right thumb on the right thumbstick so you can easily turn to block shots while you're reviving and to reposition your teammate safely. Another interesting and unique way that you can use this passive ability is to basically switch the game to third person. While you're reviving, obviously you switch to a third person perspective so you can see around corners. You can even bait enemies that see you starting a revive and watch enemies around corners, and as they push, you can see exactly where they're coming from and either cancel your revive or finish your revive and know the exact location that enemy is pushing. You can also cancel the revive mid-action by pressing the revive button one other time in order to trick enemies that think they might get the jump on you. You can't revive once you hit an octane pad, a horizon lift, or grav cannon, as the animation will discontinue and it will kick you off the revive. Now remember to play aggressively, but not with the front line. Newcastle is highly mobile, but should be played as a defender. Let your teammates start engagements and flanks, and then react to the situation with your abilities as needed. Rushing into a firefight and getting down immediately won't grant your team any of the advantages of Newcastle. He is at his best when he's supporting and providing utility to his teammates. Make sure Newcastle has the best knockdown shield out of the team. His passive deploys his own knockdown shield to cover the teammate he's dragging and reviving, and then always make sure you're always moving with Newcastle. Most defenders like to stay in one spot, forcing the enemy teams to come towards you, but Newcastle is best used to react to enemy pushes. A well-timed mobile shield or castle wall can stop an enemy in its tracks, and it can allow your teammates to help fall back or to get stronger positions or even a flank to win that fight. Guys, that is my ultimate Newcastle guide. Thank you all so much for watching. If you made it this far in the video, be sure to drop a like to help share it to others and subscribe to the channel for plenty more Apex Legends content. I have tons of other character guides. If you're looking to master any of the other legends or counter them in your games, I'll leave the playlist here for you guys to check out. And I'm going to have tons of content for the future of Apex Legends. So guys, stay tuned and I'll see you in the next one. I'm Grizzy and I'm out. Peace.